Today I'm going to try to draw this city view over Tbilisi, Georgia. And okay, yeah, there's also a tower in the mix, but I'm sure we can get over it together. It might be the main thing, but it's not the whole thing. If you're new here, I'm sure that's confusing. Maybe you're thinking, what's wrong with towers? And nothing. They're great. I just always seem to find them, and so they've made it into a significant number of my videos. Speaking of, these videos are about my process of learning to draw while I travel the world. You can go all the way back to day one if you want. I've said a lot of stuff and learned a lot of things along the way, but it's also perfectly acceptable to start right here. I'm almost certainly going to keep improving. Oh, please God, let me keep improving. So I won't take it personally if you don't see every single video. However, I will take it personally if you don't subscribe. And that goes for everyone else as well. Everyone should already be subscribed by now. Okay, so what a reference this is. Somehow I never made it up here on my previous trip to Georgia, so stumbling upon it today was a treat, especially with my drawing supplies in tow. Unfortunately, there aren't very many places to set up here. I'm pushed off to the side of a pretty narrow path down the hill, but I found a way to make it work. Please excuse the passersby who seem to be sprinting across the screen. That's just because the drawing portion of the video is sped up for the sake of our collective sanity, yours and mine and everyone else's. So reference-wise, this was a no-brainer, and I'm really happy to have the opportunity to give this a try. Did I anticipate how much work would go into it? No. Nope, I didn't. But so let's talk about it. First, the perspective. You know me, I love to talk about perspective over and over again, but today is actually quite different. My usual issues and shortcomings are only magnified, and that comes down to the angle. Being so high up, I have this dramatic downward perspective, and that creates a distorted effect, which I don't understand very well, at least as far as an academic approach would be concerned. Where if I wanted to, I could place points and draw lines from those points and so on. I don't know how I do that with this, not at all. But because I approach all of my drawings from anything but an academic approach, I like to think that I've kind of honed my eye to not need all of the tips and tricks for something like this. If I can see it, maybe I can figure out how to draw it. And you know what? While this is nowhere close to as perfect as those points and lines would get me, I do think I managed to see my way through it. Don't get me wrong, this drawing isn't even approximate on many levels, let alone perfect. But given my starting point, given the fact that today is only day 97, I will take this as a win. But also not really. I do think I did a decent job, all things considered. But of course I ran into problems. Having not drawn from this angle, at least not one so dramatic, I kept slipping back into what I know. So you might notice certain lines aligning with more of a parallel perspective, and then I'd have to sort of redraw them. That happened a lot. Also, the idea of the tower sort of shrinking away from me as it goes down, that looked so wrong. But I knew that that's something that happens, so I tried my best to stick to it. Anyway, so that's perspective. The second thing, and I don't remember what I'm listing at this point. Maybe it was stuff that was hard. I don't know, probably. But how does one go about drawing a city full of buildings without drawing every single building? I've learned certain tricks to imply the density of other things. Foliage comes to mind, but not this. And especially not this when it's primarily the roofs of the buildings that I'm seeing. In the moment, I found this just impossible. And like every line I drew was pointing in the wrong direction, which is probably true. But seeing this now, watching it back, I noticed two things. One, as I look closer to the horizon, the buildings will look more and more like straight lines. And as I look closer to below me, they will look like these harsh angles. And then two, something I so wish I'd noticed. There are streets, obviously, but those streets inform the direction of the buildings. So had I tried to pick out, or at the very least, envision, or better yet, pretend to see some streets, I could have more easily understood these angles. That still doesn't help me with the density issue, but maybe from that I could have drawn a few extra lines in the correct direction to suggest a bunch of buildings. Maybe. I don't know. I'll just have to try something like this again soon. The last thing, and I do remember now, the list was about how hard this drawing was and why, is not really about the drawing at all, but about this, video making process. Upon finishing a drawing, as I've mentioned in the past, I tend to have lost feeling in my legs. They're usually dead asleep by the halfway point, and it usually takes a minute afterward for the blood to come back. Today, being in this awkward position, not in the way exactly, but definitely feeling like it, I wanted to pack up and get moving as soon as I could. My legs didn't feel like they were asleep, so I just stood right up. It felt a little weird. I realized I actually couldn't feel them very well, and then a shooting pain went up from my foot through my leg. So I looked down, and I saw that I was standing with all of my weight on my ankle. Foot just completely sideways. So my natural reaction was to shift all of my weight to my other leg. But that one was asleep too, unfortunately. So instead, my knee buckled and I came tumbling down where my stool used to be, because in the meantime, I'd picked it up to put away. So there I was, stool in one hand, drawing in the other, splayed out on the rocks for everyone to gawk at. Grace incarnate. My ankle still hurts, but it's not a big deal, probably. I'm sure I'll be fine. Subscribe if you want to make me feel better. And hello. There we go. Wow. Weird bunch of buildings aside, this had no business working out this well. Yeah, I'm super excited about this one. I don't have much to say. I guess there's a lot here that's pretty vague when you look too long. But geez, I don't care. So let me know what you think. I would love that. Leave a comment down there. You know where it is. That'd be great. Also, like and subscribe and all the rest. Okay. Well, anyway, I appreciate you for taking the time to watch this one, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.